I'm spending this lovely evening out in the garden doing some planting and some experimenting. So in my last video, I was headed to the dentist, and now I'm back from the dentist, and this is the evening of that same day. I decided it's such a lovely, beautiful evening out. I wanted to go outside and do something in the garden, and so I decided to come out here and do some more planting, and I'm going to do some experimenting, and I decided to bring you guys with me. So you see this patch right here. It's where I had laid some black plastic down because it was getting overtaken with grass and weeds back in the spring. So we went ahead and picked it up, and then the day that I had Michael come out here and till the rows for the beans, I had considered having him till this area too, so that way I could plant some more beans in it. And then I decided, nah, I'd pass on having him till it because surely those 6 rows of beans that I planted would be more than enough to can for the winter. And so he went ahead and put the tiller up. And then the next day I got to thinking, man, I should have had him till that up because I could have planted some more beans, and there's some other things that I could plant. And so then I decided I really wanted it tilled. Well, I asked him to till it, and he just hasn't gotten around to it yet. And so then I got to thinking, well, no, maybe I don't want to have it tilled, and maybe I could experiment with just going ahead and planting some seeds in it and see how it does. I already started hoeing a little row right here to plant some okra. Now I realize it might be a little bit late for okra. In fact, Michael told me that he didn't think it would probably do anything because it was a little bit too late in the year. But my mom said that I ought to go ahead and try it because you never know, it might grow. We do have at least 2 months before frost hits. And so I figure, well, if I get just a little bit of okra from it, it'll be worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and plant the okra. As you can see in spots, the soil is soft, and in other spots it's pretty hard. I don't really have many okra seeds, so it's just going to be a short little row. I have about this many seeds, and I don't even know if I'm going to plant all of them. Covering them up was a little bit tricky because I didn't have a whole lot of dirt around the edges to work with. Next I'm going to plant a couple of short rows of beans. Now this is only an experiment. I mean, if I get the beans off of it, of course I'm going to can them and put them up. But I'm just going to see and compare how they grow to the beans that we planted in the tilled area. Now that I got the mulch pulled back, I'm going to try to dig a little row to plant them in. Now this could be kind of difficult because it is still pretty dry and the soil is pretty hard. That was so-so. It was kind of difficult, but yet not as bad as I thought it would be. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the second row, and then I will start planting the beans. Oh my, look at those pesky guineas. They're trying to get in the garden. Psst, go on. I don't want you in here. Those guineas are just so irritating, and they almost make me go nutty. Every time I get a ripe tomato, they peck a hole in it. Definitely time to find them a new home. In fact, I have somebody interested in buying them all. and I would love to sell them to him, but we just haven't figured out yet how to catch them. But I'm working on figuring that out, let me tell you. Whew, got that job done. The most difficult part of it was trying to find enough dirt to cover up the seeds because the dirt kind of got lost in the mulch. This next thing I'm going to plant is a total and complete experiment. I'm going to plant some yellow summer squash. I've got the early variety and it says it matures in 45 days. And like I said earlier, we have a couple of months until frost and maybe even a little more. So I'm hoping we'll have enough time for it to mature and we'll be able to harvest some squash. Now I read it needs long hot summer days to grow well, and so I don't know if our days are going to be warm enough and long enough from here on out for it to grow, but like I said, it's an experiment. I'm just going to go for it. You know, if I don't get anything, I haven't really lost anything other than $1 for the seeds. But then if it does grow, then I've gained quite a bit. So I think I'm going to plant the squash right in this area. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to do, which is not an experiment, is plant some of my favorite mini white cucumbers in this little raised bed garden right here. I've planted these at this time of the year before, and they've grown really well, and I usually get a nice big harvest right before frost, and then I make a big batch of refrigerator pickles, and then we're able to eat on them for several months. For a late frost, that way I can get multiple harvests off of my crops. I will say I've had various luck doing this because I remember like maybe 3 years ago we had a really early frost. I think it was on October 4th was our frost, and I had just harvested the beans the day before. And so luckily I got a huge harvest because I planted like 5 or 6 rows, and that was enough to last us the whole winter. So we lucked out on that one. And then like last year, for example, I remember it was election day in November, and we went and we voted for president, and then we came home and then we picked beans and I canned. And it was crazy to be canning in November. So I never really know how this is going to turn out, but you know, I just go ahead and go for it because, you know, really I have nothing to lose other than the time that I put in and the small amount of money that I've spent on seeds. And, you know, if it doesn't work out, I haven't really lost a whole lot. And if it does work out, then I've got more food for the family. My mom and kids are over there sitting on the swing visiting, and so I'm going to go over and join them and sit and relax and enjoy the rest of the evening.